Before I get into today's episode about Drew Brees, I just want to let you guys know that today's episode is sponsored by SeatGeek. If you would like to save $20 off of your first purchase on SeatGeek, all you have to do is enter the promo code JKS and you'll save $20 off, just like that. For those of you unaware what SeatGeek is, it's a great place just to get tickets to sporting events, which is mainly what most of you guys use it for, but you can also use it for concerts and things of that nature, so if that's something you're interested in, the link is in the description below. Again, promo code JKS, you save $20. And anyways, back to your regularly scheduled video. So Drew Brees is back. He comes back from his injury, and he had quite the day against Arizona. He played very well, and he was able to pick up a win along with the rest of his teammates. The numbers were definitely impressive in their own right. 373 yards, and he also averaged over 8.5 yards per attempt, so very good performance just with that, but he also had 3 touchdowns to just 1 interception, and he also completed just under 80% of his passes. He completed 79.1, which is, again, that's kind of a ridiculous number for most guys, but for Brees, you almost are used to that. He's completing 75% of his passes this season, and he completed 75% of his passes last season, so, it's just same old with Brees. But I thought he played very well, which is, good, because you just know that if he had 1 or 2 bad games, there'd be a bunch of comments of people saying maybe they should go with Bridgewater, even though, of course, they should go with Brees. But anyways, let's just talk about how he played and what he did well, and we'll start things off with this play. It's a 3rd down and 6 situation, so, okay, already not the best situation, but at the same time, Drew Brees, he can tear apart 3rd down situations. 3rd downs are where he thrives. He's so accurate, and he makes the decisions very quickly, and both of those will be demonstrated with this play. It's going to be a cover 3 zone, and that's going to be Michael Thomas's route, which is what Brees will eventually throw to, but that's not where he's initially going to look. That's actually his second read on this play. If you take a look right when this ball is snapped, Brees is looking up to the top half of the screen. He is not looking in Thomas's direction. He's trying to see if something else could be open, but he just doesn't like what he sees. He doesn't feel as though that could be open, so now he has to find something else that could be open, which of course, that's going to be Thomas. Thomas is going to get open on this play. But what I like about this is look how quickly Brees realizes that's not going to be open, goes off to Michael Thomas, makes a great throw where Thomas is able to pick up the first down. That's all just so seamless, and it just looks so easy, but it really isn't. The reality is, so much of being a good quarterback is just what you can do mentally. How quickly can you realize, my first read isn't open, gotta find my second read. Okay, that guy is open, make the throw now. Don't hesitate, make it on an instant. And not just that, but the other biggest thing about being a quarterback is being accurate, and Brees has both of those 2 key attributes. He's the most accurate quarterback ever, and when you add on his intelligence, he just becomes such a deadly weapon. This play was another good example where, once again, it's going to be a cover 3 zone, but what's interesting here is look at those 3 routes right there on the top half of the screen. Keep in mind, this is a cover 3, which means that obviously 3 players are playing deep, and then you're going to have 4 defenders who are in charge of covering the middle of the field. But if 4 defenders are covering the middle of the field, this now means that only 2 of those defenders are going to be covering it on one side of the field. So if you have 3 routes all going to one side of the field, this means that somebody is going to be open. Typically what happens on a play like this is that the 2 Cardinals would just go deep and stay with the assigned receivers. However, once Brees then sees that and it hits the halfback into flat, then you can just move up and try to make a tackle, and if you can play it off perfectly, it would only go for a couple of yards, although, of course, the downside is if a halfback breaks a tackle, it can go for a lot of yards. But what's interesting here, actually, is that this is not going to be just a traditional cover 3 zone. They're going to be doing something a little bit different here. They're going to actually send a defensive back to rush Drew Brees, and then they're going to also just drop someone who's on the line back into coverage on the top half of the screen. The idea behind this is to try to fool the offensive line. However, it's going to have a huge negative impact just because of the play that the Saints are running on this one. And you'll see what I mean right now. Because as that defender is trying to get back into a position where he can potentially cover his zone, now if you look at Michael Thomas, he's easily open here. Not only is it an incredibly favorable matchup, but also the defender's back is turned. He has no idea where this ball could be going. Brees can really put this one where he wants to, and it can be an easy completion here. But keep in mind, Brees was initially thinking about potentially throwing it to his halfback. That's typically how these plays work, so that's what he had in his mind. However, he quickly realizes what's going on. He hits Thomas, and then Thomas is able to do the rest of the work and pick up a huge gain after the catch. And so while part of that was just Michael Thomas being Michael Thomas, that's kind of just what he does, a bigger part of that was just Drew Brees making an absolutely perfect throw. That was just exactly where you want to have that ball, so that way Thomas can get some yards after the catch. It's Brees helping Thomas out, and then Thomas helping Brees out, and also it was just a lottery situation that developed, but at the same time, give credit to Brees for realizing very quickly, hey, this is a great situation. Some guys do sort of panic in those situations, and sort of say, I don't know what to do, I gotta hesitate for a second, and by that point, the window has just been closed at that point. But not Brees. He does not wait, he realizes what's going on, makes a quick throw at a perfect time, and they get a big gain. So that's kind of the dilemma going up against Drew Brees, is simply the fact that you want to play some zone just against the Saints in general, since they are such a good running football team, but when you do, well then he can pick you apart. But honestly, at the same time, when you play man, he can pick you apart. So, like this play, it's a perfect example, where it's going to be a cover one hole, and the Saints have a receiver running that route right there, which is okay against this coverage. If you just look at the route that's currently on screen, it clearly will get open at a certain point, but only at a certain point. But there still is a chance that this can work, and you'll see it better once this play develops a little bit, because as of what's going on right now, so his assigned man is a little bit open. He's winning his own personal one-on-one matchup pretty well. So that's the first part of the play that has to work, but it is working here. But that still doesn't mean that Brees can just hit him right away, because there's a Cardinal who's right in front of him. Brees is going to have to throw it over the linebacker, but also if he overthrows it, it could be intercepted since there is a safety who's deep. And of course, if he throws it too far to the left or to the right, then it would either fall incomplete or get knocked away. So he has to basically make a perfect throw, and honestly, this is a dangerous pass that could result in an interception. It's a throw that many quarterbacks should not make, and that's because many quarterbacks are not Drew Brees. Watch how he just makes a perfect throw and they get the big gain, just because Brees has that accuracy. Those are my two things that I always say I value in a quarterback, is intelligence and accuracy, and Brees has them both. And this play is another good example of that. It's once again going to be man coverage. Once again, it's a cover one hole, and that's his halfback's route. That's Latavius Murray, who is his halfback. He's just running a quick route. It's a dump off, essentially. And after the ball is snapped, Brees actually looks somewhere else, but he doesn't like that, so he is going to look over and see if Murray is open, and clearly Murray is definitely open. He's getting ready to cut, but there is a ton of space. There's a solid 5 yards in between him and his assigned man, so absolutely Brees can make this throw. They'll at least gain a few yards and create a third down and short, but who knows, potentially he could gain some more yards if Murray is able to make a good play. That's kind of the way that's Brees' thought process at this point, is this can work out pretty well. And if you look at Brees, he's already in throwing motion. He's already made his decision. It's that quick that he makes his decisions. It's instantly. And not only that, but watch this throw. It's exactly what you would want. It allows Murray to turn upfield and get into the end zone for a touchdown. Give credit to Murray for making a good play, absolutely. But at the same time, Brees just put him in a position where he could make a great play. He allowed him to potentially pick up as many yards after the catch as possible. And then, again, similar to that Michael Thomas play earlier, where Brees put in a situation where Murray could potentially gain as many yards, and then Murray helped him out by gaining even more yards and getting into the end zone for a touchdown. And that's also something that Brees just does, is when you hear taking a dump off or taking a check down, oftentimes that has sort of a negative connotation, but at the same time, I do feel like Brees, I wouldn't say he invented it, but he was kind of one of the first guys to use a check down consistently, to say, hey, I can gain 5 yards every play. When my bad plays are 4 or 5 yards, we're going to move the ball on you guys no matter what. I think him and Sean Payton, that's definitely part of their mindset, and it has worked out very well. And even there, he basically checked down a touchdown, which is pretty cool. And since I broke down to one touchdown, might as well break down another touchdown, and here's how this one's going to work. The Cardinals are in a red zone situation. They're in a red zone defense, so they're making sure that they keep everything in front of them. 4 yards is okay, just don't give up the 5th. You don't want the touchdown here. A third down and goal at the 1, obviously still not ideal, but you're not going to be too worried about that. You just don't want a lot of touchdown on this play. And so what they're going to do is they're actually going to be blitzing 5, and also worth noting, the Saints are in 5 wide here. So this is just going to be one man for one man. No double teams on the line. It's every offensive lineman trying to block a Cardinal. That's the way it's going to work. And then as far as their secondary goes, it's just zone coverage. Obviously they're all playing pretty much at the goal line. Don't let anything get deep. Don't let anything get into the end zone. Again, 4 yards is okay, just not the 5th. But for the Saints, they actually have a great way to beat this type of coverage. What they're going to do is send their receiver on the top half of the screen, just deep towards the corner of the end zone. Basically, the way this works is that the Cardinal who's in that zone is going to then have to also cover him, so he'll be also in the corner of the end zone. And then what you'll do is send your other two receivers on those two routes right there. And so basically the idea behind this is that since there will be a Cardinal who's covering his zone on the top half of the screen who has to run deep, now the Saint who's cutting into his zone could potentially be open. And if he's not open, it would be because a Cardinal realized what's going on and abandoned his own zone to try to make sure he's covering him. But then basically the exact same thing happens, just one zone further down. So either way, this could potentially be open. Brees just has to look in that direction, see if a guy is open, and then of course make his decision quickly and make an accurate enough throw for it to be complete. And after the ball is snapped, as you see, it just takes a split second for one of the Cardinals to realize what's going on and try to make sure he can step in front of this play and knock it away. It's just a split second, but that's all that Drew Brees needs. It's once again just a perfectly accurate throw. He got it there in a hurry too. I mean, just quick decision making, quick throw, accurate throw. I mean, you could say that about 90% of Drew Brees' throws, honestly. I mean, he's great. I know we all realize that's what makes Drew Brees great, and, I probably didn't even have to make this video. I'm not sure what we learned too much, but at the same time, I just think it's fun to break down the greats when they play sometimes. I just think that's a fun thing to do. And typically, that's what I do with this channel, is I kind of break down what's fun to talk about. I'm less so about trying to be a professor who sits at the front of a classroom and explains to you every detail in football, and more so just trying to be like a friend who happens to watch a lot of film, and I'll notice things, and then just show you the things I noticed. Say, hey, check this out. This is pretty cool, isn't it? At least that's the kind of vibe I go for in this channel. Who knows if I hit it? Maybe not, but either way, that's what I go for. And yeah, I mean, this is definitely one of those things. I'm like, hey, this is pretty cool. This is what Drew Brees does. That's what I thought of Drew Brees' performance. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and as always, thanks for watching.